New week, new layout. This weekend, F1 is using the outer layout at the Bahrain International Circuit. Hello and welcome to the Pit Crew podcast. My name's Dylan and this is my co-host Ed.
Hello. And yes, Dylan is right. As you heard him say earlier, we are still at Bahrain, still in the same country, but we are racing at a different circuit. This time the Bahrain outer circuit, never been used for an international race before. It incorporates some of the circuit you know and love, turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the back straight of the normal circuit, and the final two turns going on to the straight, the main straight. But to connect those two up, top of it, as you can see, the blue section on your map, that is now connected up by a much shorter, much faster section of the track. In practice one, the lap time set by George Russell, we'll get on to why he set the fastest lap time in a minute, was a 54-second lap time. So I reckon in qualifying we're going to see 50-second lap time. Do you think,
Dylan? It could go
Dylan?
down by 4 seconds. Definitely.
I reckon it could if they get warmed up, but track space is going to be certainly hard to find. I mean, we see it at places like Austria, but that's just over 1 minute. So when you got 50 seconds, it's quite a small track. There's only 4 braking zones, so that just shows you how quick it is. It's almost oval shaped. It's so fast. It'll be interesting to see how the engines that now have to run one mode hold up to it.
Yeah,
Won't
it'll be interesting to see if anyone's engine will blow up. I'm guessing someone will.
I reckon someone will. It's just, and I reckon gearboxes could go, because the only time you're shifting, it's quite heavy shifting, like into turn one. It's just high stress all the time. So I think that someone could definitely give in. The Renault engines, unfortunately for a McLaren fan, don't seem to be the most reliable. Mercedes engine wasn't great last week though, was it? Sergio Perez.
Yeah, he didn't have a good one, a retiree from the race.
But as I said earlier, we'll get into why George Russell set the fastest lap time. There's been a lot of changes over the last week. First off, in the driver market, Haas have confirmed both their drivers. We were speculating on this last week. We thought they'd do it by this weekend, and we were right. Gone for an all-rookie lineup. A Russian, Nikita Mazepin.
Yeah,
is that right,
right,
Dylan? I think that's how you say it. And the big name you've probably seen is in the news.
In Formula 2.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher, as Dylan said, hopefully champion in Formula 2. Are they racing this weekend? I don't follow Formula 2. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, so hopefully he's champion. But yeah, Mick Schumacher. The Schumacher name is coming back to Formula 1. Mick Schumacher will be racing for Haas. An all-rookie lineup. What do you think of that, Dylan?
Interesting, but I think it could work, because we got rid of the 2 terrible drivers, so it'll be good.
Yeah. I hope it works. I really do hope it works for Haas. I quite like them as a team. They seem quite resourceful. And everyone likes a Gunther Steiner, don't they, Dylan?
Everyone has to.
Everyone likes a Gunther Steiner. Yeah, I hope it works out, but obviously we'll see next season. Another thing that's happened is obviously George Russell's horrific crash in last weekend's Grand Prix. Come on, Ed, spit it out. In last weekend's Grand Prix, George Russell, Romain Grosjean had a horrific crash in last weekend's Grand Prix. That took me about 30 seconds longer than it should have taken for me to say. We've been doing this for nearly 6 months, and I still can't get out a sentence, can I?
Can't.
It's awful. Still can't do sentences. But so Pietro Fittipaldi, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that, but Pietro Fittipaldi is replacing Grosjean. He is Emerson Fittipaldi's grandson. So nice to see that name back on the grid after a while. I think he raced in the 70s or the 60s.
In 79, I think.
Yeah, so he was right in that era of the 70s when everything caught fire, just like Grosjean's car last week. So he's in for Grosjean for definitely this weekend. Next weekend in Abu Dhabi, I don't know. I could see Grosjean coming back, but I could see him not. What do you think, Dylan?
He might come back next weekend. Depends if he needs to keep his hand in bandages or not. But
yeah, I think he wants to, because it's his final race weekend. He's not going anywhere. It'd be nice to, see him go out I was going to say with a bang, but that's not very
That's not
appropriate
appropriate.
considering he blew up last weekend. Yeah, it'd be nice to see him come back and actually race for his final weekend and do well as well. I mean, Dylan and I don't think we like him, but you don't want to see anyone die. And I hope, he's been a driver for a while. He's part of the grid. He seems a decent
He does
guy,
seem
doesn't he?
alright, to be
So
fair.
I hope he has. I hope he has a nice final race. Um, and also, Lewis Hamilton tested positive for COVID-19 at the start of this week, so that means he can't drive for this weekend at least, maybe next weekend, depending on how he's feeling, he may be able to drive. But that means there's a seat open at Mercedes. We did expect Stoffel Van Dorn, the
I thought it
Mercedes
was Gutierrez.
reserve driver, to take it. Um, one of the two. Their reserve drivers, Stoffel Van Dorn's one, Gutierrez is one. Stoffel Van Dorn even flew out to Bahrain, but they called up George Russell, Mercedes supported driver since 2017. He's part of the Mercedes Driver Academy. They called him up from Williams. So he's now in that Mercedes. He's a bit tall for the cockpit. He has to wear smaller shoes because he's a lot taller than Lewis. But he is now in that Mercedes. Go on, George. You're definitely going to get a
He's going to
point.
win.
Maybe a podium. Maybe a win.
He will win.
Get the full
26.
25. The full 25. 26 plus the fastest lap. Yeah, go on, Jaws. Go all out. And that means Jack Aitken, Williams reserve driver, is in for Russell. Now, as much as I like to see George Russell in that seat, I do feel a bit sorry for the Mercedes reserve drivers. I think part of me really wants Russell to, and I think more of me wants Russell to have that seat. But I do feel sorry for the Mercedes reserve drivers,
I
don't
bet,
you, Dylan?
yeah. They're the reserve drivers, so they deserve to drive. That's their job when
But
someone
yeah,
goes.
it's Russell. It's Russell. Come on, everyone likes Russell. Um, Anyway, moving on to our predictions. What this episode for? Predictions for qualifying. I predicted Russell to get pole position, Verstappen to get P2, and Bottas to get P3. It'd be embarrassing for Bottas to be beaten by Russell, but he could get beaten by him in practice 1, and practice 2 is currently live now, and we're
Leading.
about halfway through, and Russell's leading.
He is in Lewis's
Um,
car.
I think he's got the qualifying pace. Yeah, he's got the qualifying pace in the Williams, and he's fast in practice 1. So I think he does definitely have the capability to
Yeah,
do
he
it, don't
definitely
you?
will. I think he should get his first pole and maybe win.
Yeah, Grand Slam maybe, or P1 in every session. Dylan, what
I
do you
predict
predict?
Russell, Verstappen, and Perez, just because Perez seems quite strong at the moment. Apart from last race, but he was on for a podium, so I think he'll be able to finally get it this weekend. I mean, not podium. This is the wrong one.
Yeah,
Qualifying third. I was thinking
yeah.
of the wrong thing. Yeah.
Hopefully he can carry that P3 over to the race and get a podium as well. But interesting you put Perez there. Could happen. He's got good pace, but I think that the top 3, which is now Russell's replaced Hamilton, I think they're going to dominate it. And it just really goes to show that, it is about the drivers in Formula One. You can't make the car go fast without the driver, but it is a lot about the car, as we've seen in Russell's pace. I don't think anyone has the capability to win in Russell's
I
car,
don't
do
think
they,
so.
Dylan? It is about the car, and that's part of the beauty of Formula One, in my opinion. The engineering perfection that you get, that strive for engineering perfection. Anyway, moving on to our predictions for the race. I predict Russell to get to P1, carry that over from qualifying. Bottas to do the switcheroo with Verstappen and get P2 while Verstappen gets that P3. Looks like a pretty ordinary podium apart from Russell up there. It would usually be Hamilton if we were predicting a normal race weekend. Be embarrassing for Bottas to be beaten, as I've said, but I think Russell genuinely does have the pace, the car control. We've seen it in Formula 2, Formula 3. He's a brilliant driver, and I think everyone would like to see it. Hopefully he goes for fastest lap as well. I think we just covered that there. I hope he gets the
I
fastest lap,
think
don't you, Dylan?
it would be great if he did as well, to get the full 26, hopefully.
Yeah, full 26. Hang on, where would that put him in the driver's standings?
Is
That would
only
take him up
26 points.
massively. That would take him up way up the standings. It would take him up to 14th place. It would equal him with Daniel Kvyat, who's currently on 26 points at the moment. Obviously, it would change in the race, but that can only be made from predictions at the moment. Moving on to other predictions. What do you think will be the biggest disappointment in the race, Dylan?
I think the biggest disappointment could be maybe Williams not getting a point as usual, but that could lead to maybe Jack getting a point. That might be a possibility.
That'd be embarrassing for George, but yeah, I could see that happening. I usually I say, come on George, but I think it's pretty much obvious that he's going to get a point this weekend, as we've already
Unless
said.
he crashes.
The Ferrari performance, unless he crashes, I really hope he doesn't. But the Ferrari performance doesn't look that great at the moment, so that could be an issue. So that could be a big disappointment of the weekend. Maybe the battle for P3, which is now really not like hotting up as it was a couple of races ago. McLaren are leading that, so maybe McLaren will maybe not have as good a race. I don't know. I'm just making predictions as this episode is for. I hope that's not the case, but yeah, I think the safest thing to say is Williams not scoring a point as usual. Contrary to that, Dylan, what do you think will be the biggest surprise of the race?
Maybe one of the debut drivers getting a point. So Fittipaldi or Jack can get a point. That might be a big surprise.
Yeah, I could I could see that. It's a bit of an opposite to something obvious, which maybe for the surprise was actually just Russell getting the win. It's not expected. If you haven't been following it over the last weekend, the last week, you'd be like, hang on, what? Russell's won. How's that happened? It'll be like Monza all over again. So yeah, that could be a surprise. I think, as you predicted, Perez to get P3 in qualifying. So maybe we could see a podium from someone unexpected like Perez, Ocon, Albon. He should be more expected, but he's not. They still haven't confirmed that Red Bull seat, by the way. Yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises will maybe be that Russell win or an unexpected podium from one of the midfield runners. And finally, do you think there'll be a safety car, Dylan?
I think there could definitely be a safety car. I think there should be.
Yeah, I think so. Not because the track is just so close walled. I think it's just because it's such a high speed track that either in a braking zone someone could get it messed up and just go careening into the back of someone, or someone's car could catch fire and they can't get it off the track safely without getting everyone to go a lot slower. So yeah, I do think there'll be a safety car. I think that brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Pit Crew podcast. We'll let you enjoy all the action unfold over the weekend for the Sakhir Grand Prix. We're not sure what we're going to do on Sunday, as it's a late race, so recording may be out later in the week, or it may be out closer to Friday. We will. You'll know as soon as something goes up on YouTube. We're not sure what will happen yet. Hopefully the race weekend is exciting as everyone is predicting it to be. Hopefully Russell gets that win. But for now, I've been Ed.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.